Every week here in Tunbridge Wells and across Kent, hundreds of young children splish and splash at swimming classes. Despite the popularity of these classes, a study by the Amateur Swimming Association shows primary school swimming has taken a dive. 1 in 3 primary school leavers are unable to swim, up from the previously reported figure of 1 in 5. That means around 200,000 UK children left primary this summer without achieving the national curriculum target of swimming 25 metres unaided by the age of 11.
Since 1994, swimming provision at primary schools has been in the national curriculum. So it's a figure that shouldn't be the case because all children should currently, and for the last 20 years, have had the opportunity to be able to attend swimming classes through schools. And I think that's the biggest concern, the fact that that hasn't been happening.
A lack of funding, cost of training teachers, transport between schools and pools, and a focus on science and maths as opposed to swimming. Just some of the reasons why school swimming appears to be sinking.
There is a shortage of pool space and pool availability. So that in itself will lead to pressure on pool time, which will drive the prices of hiring pools up. Those costs inevitably will get passed on onto both customers and schools.
Kent County Council have said, barring academies, swimming should be more central to the school curriculum, but there's a limit to what local authorities can do.
We've certainly always sought to support schools in what they do on swimming, so we have a policy that's designed to assist schools in how they address some of the health and safety issues, the use of another pool, a range of sort of practical issues that gives them support in that. We always seek still to provide a conference and indeed some training for PE coordinators. And we do notice whenever that happens that swimming comes up as a big issue.
The main point is it already is part of the school curriculum. The big issue is that the curriculum is not being upheld. It's not just that children aren't attending classes, because I think over 70% of school children are attending swimming classes. The issues is the quality of what's actually being delivered as well.
The lack of provision has also raised alarms over safety. About 300 to 400 drown every year. More children without basic swimming skills could have a troubling impact on these figures. Cameron Tucker for KMTV.
To talk about this in a bit more depth, I'm joined by Teachers Union representative Warren Chambers from Thanet and our reporter Cameron Tucker, who's been working on the story. So first of all, Warren, thanks very much for joining us. What have you made of those figures? 1 in 3 children unable to swim.
I'm not surprised by the figures because of the budgetary requirements and constraints on schools. That swimming is a low priority for schools. It's not something that a teacher is going to be judged on whether their children can swim or not. It's about their English and maths, and so to go for a swimming lesson takes a lot of time, a lot of disruption to the day. The children get very excited, and in my experience, it's a low priority for teachers.
And what about you, Cameron? I know you've done a fair bit of work on this. You've really looked at throughout the county. What have you found about it in terms of the curriculum?
Yeah, well, as we've got Warren here who's from Thanet, I've talked to some teachers from Gravesend, throughout West Kent as well, and also swimming coaches. And I think that there's a realisation that it is important to swim, it is a life-saving skill. But in terms of the curriculum, as Warren said, it is fairly down on the priorities in terms of you've got STEM subjects that are up there, and having to herd 30 kids with a class, the logistical difficulties of that, I'm sure Warren will go into more depth on.
Mm-hmm. And I've tried to find my kids some swimming lessons in Kent and really had to search hard. But should it be down to the parents to look for the lessons?
Yes, in one sense it is, because it is a life skill, and with within a 6-hour teaching day, we've got all these other skills that we need to teach them. And for a school, the priority is Ofsted and what they will come and look at, and they will come and look at how you're doing for your maths, your English and your reading. And budgets are being cut. Just recently we had the budget announced and not enough money being put into education. And so as a union we're asking for more. And so that when you squeeze, things get dropped off. And swimming in itself doesn't just cost the swimming lesson, it's the logistics of transport, depending on whether you have a pool near you. And then you've got to get there, you've got to get changed, then it's a 20-minute lesson. If you've got 30 children, that not all teachers are trained as swim instructors, so there's the extra cost, and then you've got to get back. That disruption for that day, it takes a lot of learning away from the curriculum, and so it's not given the priority it should. I work in Thanet, which is, we're surrounded by sea, so we understand the importance, and it is a life-saving skill, but unfortunately the budgets don't necessarily come across for that.
Warren, Cameron, thank you very much indeed.